said talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch, you filthy... Flyover state of fear.
We are back. We are back. Welcome to Flyover State of Fear. We had taken, I think, the longest hiatus in our history. It's been about like a month and change. How have you been, Brian?
Man, oof. I mean, aside from the general anxiety of living in the world,
Yeah,
I'm pretty good.
There's some of that going on. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. Can't complain. Can't complain. The new house is pretty much all together.
Like the new setup.
Yeah, well, the one
paneling
room that we're in is paneling. They never changed it, and it's
I like it.
pretty
I like
sweet.
that.
It's perfect for an office.
It feels like a den. You have to call that a den.
For an office, every other room's pretty much done except for like 2 of them. But you know, how much are you gonna do in a month?
I mean, if you unpack stuff in every room already, that's like, I would just have rooms that are just like, the room I'm in now just remained empty because I didn't know what I was going to do with it at the time for a long time. So it was and then it was just like, it's a place where I store the blinds or I would like stage projects there. It's like, it's an empty room that I can like, when it was time to put up the blinds, I could like open the boxes and make a mess in there, you know?
So yeah, I move quick, so we have one of those rooms. Laura like works out, and it's like a bedroom. It's huge, it's large, storage room, and then our basement, which is a mostly finished basement. That's where like, you own a lot of movies. I own a lot of movies. That's where like the 8 like large boxes of movies are just waiting to be like shelved. And once that shelf is put up, then everything's pretty much like done. I just need to make the shelves, and like, when do you need people, you need time. You gotta
I actually didn't get a permanent home and like get shelving put up. That ended up being a COVID project for me. Like, you know, when everybody was home all the time.
I had pieces for it anyway. It's not why people have tuned in.
People love this part. They definitely don't go into the comments and complain that the show doesn't start till like 10 minutes in. And they definitely never do that.
No, I've never. The 3 weeks we were getting comments on.
Well, our same person. Our one hater probably fell off because we didn't put up any new content. He probably just like bailed out, troll someone else. He's got someone else to call a slur.
It still had to just be the weirdest like ricochet that we got from in all of a history of like podcasting 5 years. That was like, it's more than that. It was like the most we'd ever got in communication from someone. It's like, what are you doing? Who are
from like random and for it to be from like a troll like that is so funny. Like,
what random Twitter person are you that you definitely just followed here and you're like, I hate these fucking guys.
Well, and there's really a funny element of like it's the same thing as like people who like make fun of your follower count or something like that. It's like they'll be like, "Oh, you're failing podcast." It's like, "Oh yeah, but I forgot I was doing this to get famous."
Yeah, like, I gotta pay the bills.
Yeah, I thought I was gonna be Mr. Beast by now. Dang.
Oh, we're CinemaSins over here.
Yeah, ding or whatever.
God, red letter media failures.
You know, off topic, but like since we're just rambling here anyway, and nobody cares, I always think about like what is the future for Red Letter Media? Like I hope they continue to just produce this content all forever, but that can't be what they want to do.
I mean, but they've just been going for like 20 years almost with this like evolving of the same thing, and they seem to have a new like I watch as mostly like you do. They seem to have the same like a new love for it every time. Like when something is there, you feel like they're like kind of done with it. Something kind of ropes them back in to be like, maybe we should stay around. So I don't know.
And I mean, they have evolved their content. I think the fucking Nuki video and like that whole concept that they did with that that should have gotten some kind of like internet award. They should have gotten like a Webby or something for the whole thing with explaining the like the price kind of inflation and
Yeah.
like
How
that whole thing was really very interesting. I thought
how
like that's
how
actually one of their it was like not their normal content,
how
but it was pretty
VHS
cool.
collecting is fucking pointless.
Right, like, but like explaining why and the grading system, and then having all the nukies,
Um,
and then doing the fun destruction of all the
yeah,
nukies.
yeah, and just side note, has nothing to do with that video. Those one of the major VHS grading companies went bankrupt and is no longer more.
I
So
know it's
any
awesome
anyway, as I look at my
because the
weird,
bubble, they popped the bubble. They didn't wait for it to burst. They're like, "We'll do it. We got it. We'll pop the bubble."
it's I look for I have a few VHSs, but they're all aesthetic based. They're all like I have a couple Goosebumps ones. They ain't to watch. It's all to just be like, oh, this is a piece of artwork. And
Yeah,
guess
it's
what?
like
Guess what you can't find anymore? Fucking good horror VHSs because of that dumbass bubble. I can be like, oh, you got a copy of Nightmare on Elm Street? It's like, yeah, it's $85, and you're like, well, I'm not going to spend more than six
even
on a
that seems like a lot.
yeah on
I
a
Yeah, I only have. I think I have a copy of The Crow, and I only kept it because I think it has some Brandon Lee interview footage that isn't on the
mm,
DVD.
yeah.
Like I don't
Like I
have.
said,
I was not sentimental about my
I picked
VHSs.
up a few. I picked up a few for
I
like
should have
50 cents.
kept my Star Wars VHSs though.
That's a different story. I have a few that are like I said aesthetic purposes. Like I have Con Air and Face Off because they were 50 cents at a yard
It's like
sale.
a decorative piece,
Yeah,
you know. It's like
that's what I'm saying.
it's like a toy.
Dumb
It's
and
like displaying
Dumber.
one of these.
I literally look into my left. I don't know if it's in frame. There's like Goosebumps and Up, and I have a little VH. It looks like a TikTok setup almost for like old video games, my baseball, Mets TV, and anyway.
Well,
Um,
VHS is cool. You could set it on its side and set something on top of it if
I
you
like
wanted,
you said,
and you'd
decorative. I
have
think
the spine to look. There's
we
lots
own
to it.
thousands of Blu-rays. I can't be adding fucking something that's even wider to the collection that has worse video, the worst. Anyway, it's been a month. I don't think we need to run through everything we've watched or whatever. Are there
How
anything
could we
that
possibly?
you have wanted to highlight that you've seen in the last month or so,
Um,
or just get
I'll
off your
do.
chest?
Well, I'm in the midst. It's October, so I'm in the midst of my Hirschtober with my sons, who are watching horror movies every night. So, but it's all classics, so it's nothing new. Nothing. I'll highlight two real quick. One is a movie. It was when I back in the day, I used to work at a Ruby Tuesday. It's where I met my wife, and we worked with a girl who had just come back from filming a movie. And we were like, "Whoa, that's awesome!" She had been in Fangoria, and she brought in a copy and showed
Oh,
us the
it's very
article,
cool.
and it was really sweet. It was awesome, and like she didn't work there very long. She moved on. I don't know,
Hmm.
But when I eventually saw her movie For Sale previously viewed, I bought it, and so I rewatched that the other day. It's called Flesh for the Beast. It's a very speaking of red letter media, this could be a best of the worst movie. It's very much on the low budge
Yeah, yeah.
side, kind of amateurish acting, and but
What's her
it's
name?
her name.
Yeah.
She had her name in the movie is Jane Scarlett. She had a moniker, she was going by a stage name. She's
Okay.
the lead actress though. She's basically
Okay.
the lead of the movie, and I rewatched that, and it's available on Tubi. Fair warning, probably not safe for work. Little on the softcore side.
And does Jane get involved in that?
Yes, she does.
Fun.
That was
Uh,
surprising to learn when I watched the movie the first time.
well, she worked until about 2006, and she just did something in 2022.
Yeah, I saw that too. I also looked at her
Rust.
IMDb, and it looks like she popped up in
Follow
2022. So
two love.
good for her. I hope she.
Also sounds a little on the soft corey side on that. Thrust.
Well, the name at least.
Yeah, follows two lovers, Aloe and Vera. That's original. Living
Very
in a
clever.
girl gang ruled dystopian society on a quest to kill dirtbag Mike.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
think she's like the lead in that though. I
No,
think she
no,
just probably has like a small part.
she probably just goes, "What's up, guys? It's
Yeah, she's
me."
like pops up as like some dystopian warlord maybe or
Yeah,
something. That'd be cool.
I'm not. No shade to her. It's very cool. She did movies. It's not.
Absolutely, she followed her dream. That's rad as fuck.
Yeah.
And then the other one I wanted to mention, it was on. I checked it out on Canopy. Canopy's a great service. If you have a library card, you can probably get Canopy. It's free and it rules. It's a French movie called The Vourdelac. It's a vampire movie. It's about a like French nobleman who is like kind of lost out in the woods traveling, and he like has to like shack up with this poor family, and their grandfather is a Nosferatu, kind of. So, but it's got some
When was it
really
made?
fun practical effects. It's brand new. It's from 2023. But it's got some very old school and cool practical effects that were really fun. And you know, it's a breezy. It's like a 90-minute, so it's perfect for the Halloween season. Um, and I highly recommend.
Ooh, I love that. Yeah, this last month or two, I mean, I haven't been too on top of my horror, as
Mhm.
ashamed to admit. It's been mostly Simpsons and baseball.
I
But
remember I have a very vivid memory. I obviously grew up in Northern Ohio, and I in the town I grew up in was a college town, and every Halloween we had like the whole downtown was just filled with people. You know, the college students would all pour into the streets, and everybody walked around. And from about the time you were like 13, if you put on the right costume, you could basically just go down there and hang and like, you know what I mean, and
yeah,
party and stuff. And I remember one year, I just like this is my only other kind of Halloween baseball memory where they meshed. There was a year where the Indians were in the playoffs
sure.
or something, and like so there was a lot of like baseball inspired costumes. People were like blowing up bubbles like bubble gum and putting it on top of their hats, and there was like a it was a thing where they would blow like there was
Oh,
so there's a lot of people that had like balloons on their attached to their hats as part of their costume and stuff.
that's
So
fun.
when I think
Uh,
about Halloween time and baseball intersecting like they are for you right now,
yes, they are.
I have like a visceral memory of
That is a
one
visceral
year.
bubblegum. I gotta remember that. I hope my team is playing during Halloween now because that's you can't even. But
That would
um,
mean they were had made it further down the
that mean they
line.
made it to the World Series, and I have a story. I have a World Series Halloween story, but I'm not. It's not for time now. But um, basically, it was like the Mets were in 2015, and I wasn't as into it as today. And I remember like we went out all the way to DC for a bar crawl because friends were there. We're like, sure, and like no bars had the game. Like by the time the game was on, no bars had it, and like our group of friends was there was way too many to go like 4 hours away to like bar crawling and sleeping over. It was like, oh, we're going to a house party now. Um, but there'll be a TV there. We're like, okay, great. No TV at this fucking house party, and like Laura and who was the one who was like really really into it, and it was like we're going to a bar, and we just found some like we like all right like jumped in an Uber with like two other friends and like left everyone else and like went to this one bar, and like no one was. It was a really nice bar too, which is the funny part of the story. Like no one was in there. The guy was so happy people were there to like watch the game, and he was like, all right guys, every run scored, like drink on me or whatever, or something cool like that. No, it was like a 1-0 game. Nothing
Yeah,
went. I never was fed more free drinks from a bartender in my life just because
it's
he was so
amazing.
thrilled we were there.
Right? He was just like somebody's here. Thank
Yeah, and
God.
then I think it got. Then if I remember correctly, I mean, we were hammered by the end of the game and the Mets lost, but like it was crowded. But we were
Yeah,
like anyway. Now baseball and Halloween season go together.
they do. They mesh.
But no, I've been watching a lot of The Simpsons, but that's not what I talk about. The last couple of days, I did do start catching up. I did get to see Beetlejuice.
I also saw Beetlejuice.
Um, and I want to just talk about it briefly. I think it was as good as it probably could have been for like a what 35, 40 year sequel. Like it's not
It definitely
focused.
could have used to be a little more focused and
No, it's
have
not
like
focused at all. It
a
didn't.
single plot that it was like
Oh,
following. It's got like four or
it has
five.
four, and I would say two of them ever like actually wrap up.
Yeah, and some of them wrap up very abruptly.
Oh, like the kid that the Jenna Ortega storyline with the kid that just like okay, there's no point of
Yeah, we're
this.
done with you. Yeah, it's just kind of
Um,
time for you to leave
Yeah,
the story
even
so we
like
can do the Beetlejuice wedding part.
I listened. It's not original thought really, but I listened to someone either, and like I didn't think of this, but now it is a grievance. It's like, what do you want, like Winona Ryder's character to be like? Finally, like she needs to say Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice to like come to terms with it and like encapsulate it. But instead, they just have Justin Theroux like shout it out for like a 3 minute bit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's a really good point. Like thematically, like she should be like, I need him to, And anyway, it was fun. But put it this way: I watched it yesterday. It was as good as I think it could have been.
Yeah.
I also yesterday watched, which I don't think this was as good as it could have been. Maxine.
I have not seen that yet. I knew it was coming. It's coming. It's on
It's
Max
coming to
now.
Max. In a day or two, I got it in ways.
But I know it's going to be available fairly soon.
It's going
on
to be
my list.
available fairly soon. I recommend watching it. That's also a movie that I would call unfocused. Like it's a little it's a bummer of a way to end such a really good and unique two movies that you're trying to set a trilogy up.
Yeah.
There are parts I really like in it, but it's the same thing. Like it's I think it's trying to do too much with its like meta-ness about like movies and porn and the
Yeah.
80s, and like it's fine. It's at the end of the day, it's fine. I will let us move on, 'cause especially if you
Well,
haven't
I mean, the Ty West, those movies, they're gonna be. It's like, to me, it's kind of like in the same vein as the Terrifier movies. There's gonna be a generation of people that's their favorite horror movies.
Oh,
You know what I
I
mean?
think
And
there's
you're just
people that
gonna
are
start
like,
to come across them more often. They're gonna be like, oh, and the epitome of like what horror is to them is gonna be like the Ty West, trilogy, and it's
yeah,
just the
it's
way of the
fine.
world. You
It's fine.
can't fight it.
I like the first one. The first two, but the Terrifier movie, man. I almost tweeted out today, just like it's great if you like the second one, but don't lie to me and tell me the first one is an enjoyably good movie because it's just not.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people like all in on trying to make Art the Clown a new horror
He,
icon. It's like, I mean, I get it, but like we even already have horror clowns too. It's not even like
I think there's room in the world to have new ones, and we should cover Terrifier too at some point. Art is an icon that's a little bit bleeding into mainstream, but he's not mainstream yet
yeah,
because mainstream is like, if for me for horror icons, it's like your Freddy's, your Jasons, your
yeah,
Chucky's, your Ghostface.
yeah. I would say the
Your
most modern ones are probably Ghostface and like maybe Jigsaw would be like the
yeah,
top
your
kind of like more modern ones.
when I think it is like they're icons now and this or like blah blah. That's when it's like your friend who doesn't know what a fucking just watches like 3 movies a year, or your parents like when they kind of know who that is. Great.
Yeah.
Art's I think art is on the same level of like a Sam, where it's like it's
Okay.
there,
Yeah.
you've seen it, a lot of people probably don't know what it is, but the people that do know what it is are like, yeah, he's badass. Um, Anyway, speaking of that, we are covering Late Night with the Devil today. That came out
Put the
this.
time in the description, everybody.
All
We're
right,
starting the
what
show.
it was like 14 minutes probably.
Nah, it's not so bad.
Yeah, I would say right. But
Some
no, we're
people are
covering Late
whining
Night
and
with the
complaining
Devil.
all the time.
We haven't talked in like a month in like
Yeah.
this setting.
Yeah, we
So
save it to give this. This is for you
yeah,
people. We want you to feel connected to us. We do this instead of an annoying thing where we like read the names of our patrons or stuff. I fucking hate when podcasts do
all
that.
right. Well, this is my Verizon bill, so let me just. No, all right. So we were talking. I remember. So this movie, I saw it in this. This movie came out this summer,
Yeah,
which
I was gonna say I think maybe like it like was festival stuff in like the spring and
it
then
was
came out
festival. I
major
saw it in the
release
summer.
in the summer. Yeah.
Yeah, no shit. That was not March.
Oh, okay. So it
I
was
have
in the
the wiki
spring
right
then.
now. Yeah, it was close. Because I saw this in the theaters. I was fortunate enough to see this in a
Nice.
movie theater. Um, and I'm happy to say before we it's because of how it's filmed and everything. It translates very much both to like the at home and the theater.
Oh, sure.
Um, Movies like this, especially being like this is a Halloween movie. I remember when I watched it thinking, oh great, there's a new one I could add into my rotation. I've actually been waiting for this spooky season to do a rewatch of this movie, and not just like when it came to Shudder like a month after the theatrical.
Right.
I should more start off. Have you seen Late Night with the Devil before
Yeah,
this?
actually, this watch for this would be my third time watching it.
So you'll have a little bit better than me. Real simple, quick plot synopsis with it is
Sure.
it's about a late night host, Jack Delroy. He's always second in the ratings. We're based in the 70s, and essentially to get his ratings up, uh, he's doing a Halloween special with a real in time like exorcism
He's pulling out
seance.
all the stops, big gimmicks on his
And
big
yeah, all
Halloween
gimmicks. He's
show.
gimmicks based. And the movie's very set up like that you're watching the broadcast, but then they're cutting it with like a behind the scenes documentary for most of the movie. And
Yeah, the movie, it kind of tries to present itself as found footage, but it's not really. It doesn't really
but then
hold very.
but then it bails on it.
It bails on that pretty quickly because all the behind the scenes footage is like edited. It would have been, you could have done it more found footagey and just have the cameras like not pointing at anybody and heard the audio and like had, put some dialogue on the screen if people couldn't,
Well,
there's ways you could have made it a little more real, found,
yeah,
like make it feel a little more. But I think stylistically it's fine. I don't
it's still
really care.
style. I'm cool with
Yeah,
it because there's things like later on in the movie that like you go, oh, that if this is I'm watching found footage, this makes no sense. Why like I'm seeing this as an audience member,
yeah,
like when the co-host has his moment with the hypnotist.
yeah,
It's one of the funnest like moments in the movie with everything and blah blah blah. We shouldn't see that if it was found footage. We should not see that as an
yeah.
audience. But um, I would not want that removed from the movie. That would be anyone who thinks like that is a fucking idiot. Um, but the show's called Night Owls, and so basically we start off with like actually we start off with, and I remember thinking it was a movie theater, and then it being clowned on. About 10 production logos.
Oh man, no kidding. I was watching this. It's like I remember people were making the Family Guy
It's
joke
the
about all the
Family Guy
different
one.
production logos. It was like
Like,
there
all
were a
right, now it's
bunch.
gonna
It was
start.
so many.
In the theater, it was like that because the production logos. I would say like 3 or 4 of them look like the start of a fucking movie, like of a
Yeah,
horror movie. Like one's like a cartoon. You're like, oh, okay, I've seen horror movies start with cartoons.
sure.
Oh no, oh, okay, we ready? Um, yeah. So very very silly, but I get you need money to make movies to be made, and they got a lot of it from a lot of different places.
Oh yeah.
Um, so anyway, but it starts with basically like this is footage obtained from Jack Delroy's
We
taping.
get a little what Stacy Keach voiceover that tells like the history of Night
It's
Owls, the show,
yeah,
right?
you
Yeah,
get a
like
really I like that part of it. You get
they
a
give you
really
a little background on like how he got started and the kind of ups and downs of the show a little bit and how
mhm.
he's the competition with him and Carson and so on and so forth.
His and then his marriage to his wife, and then how
Well,
his
and then they mention that he has this like connection. It's almost like the Freemasons. He goes the Grove, and there's
yeah.
some kind of weird like they touch on a lot of things in this intro that are gonna come up. His wife's cancer, the Grove, that stuff is all gonna come back, and
Wife's
they do a
cancer
good
in the
job of
group.
like kind of planting a lot of those seeds right at the very beginning.
Yeah, and yeah. So and then his wife, we learn, his wife. And this is all in the front. Passes from cancer.
Mhm.
They even made it very public with an interview that seemed ill-advised.
Yeah.
Uh
Yeah, a little bit of a like maybe a bit of a crass ratings ploy to
yeah.
bring your cancer wife on TV and trot
Well,
her out.
doesn't some of the show in that, and like I get it, it's not, it's the late 70s, supposed to be late 70s, not that they blended in that like 'cause TV wasn't like Jerry Springer before Jerry Springer, but it was like basically like I'm having like a Jerry Springer type show.
Yeah, well, and everybody in the show, all the like guests have that. They're all kind of like trash TV archetypes that used to, and not even so much from the Jerry Springer era, but more from like an earlier
Okay,
like
that's when
variety show. You'd have a guy who was like a mentalist, or you'd have a guy come on who threw playing cards. You know what I mean?
well
They're like that sort
well
of
I
thing
just
was
I think
more.
my mind goes to the Jerry Springer for that, or at least in the montage because they show like the Nazi talking to like the not like the like that, and I'd always think
Yeah,
like Springer did it like, oh my god, the white supremacists confronted a Jewish person or whatever.
right.
But yeah, you're right. So like yeah, they all the arc. I mean, even the main show we're about to watch, The Mentalist,
Mm.
the way the Mentalist is dressed, even in name, it's
Oh,
all
sure.
very kitsch and gimmicky and stereotypical and borderline offensive and um but one I think the what stands out so much about this movie and the elevating is I'm gonna fuck his name up, but David Dashmashlian
Dashmelian, is that his?
Dashmalian, yeah, I
Dashmalian?
don't know. It's him. He is
Oh yeah, he's great. He's a great lead. I'm glad to see him get some lead roles. He also had a I wouldn't say he's a lead 'cause it's more of an ensemble, but he was in Last Voyage of the Demeter, which is a
yeah,
good horror
but
movie
he
from this year
has
also.
like he got his jobs originally just like I'm not calling him not a handsome man, but he's an interesting face.
He's distinctive looking
Yeah,
for sure, yeah.
and like I don't know if about you. My first one was like, oh, the guy in the Dark Knight who just like laughs, getting the shit kicked out of him by like Harvey
Yeah.
Dent. And then you saw him pop up in a few other places, and he was always kind of like crazy person or
Yeah. He's like one of the crew. He's one of Ant-Man's crew, right? He like is in those
one of Ant Man's.
movies.
Oh shit, I forgot about. He's one of Ant, and that's probably one of his normal roles.
Yeah. He's just playing like foreign guy in that. He's got like an
Yeah,
accent.
yeah. Um, I mean, a little more recent. He's the polka dot man, and
I would say
he was
that's when
great in that.
he started to break out with a more
Yeah,
like a bigger role there.
and there's better, and there's like there's more roles post Dark Knight, but they were all that very similar, like Joker henchman-y, like you gonna laugh. Um, oh shit, he's from
Well,
Allen.
he has a good crazy face. Like he can
Yeah.
make a good crazy face.
Oh, that's where I'm fucking noted. Remember the in the horror world, the Belko experiment. So Dark Knight is his
Okay.
first. Yeah, and he's like in Prisoners. So like he worked for a bit. I'm glad he's getting his due.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but this one, I mean, this is his movie, and he's so good, and it does help too that like maybe because what he how he looks partially is like even though it's modern, he has a bit of that like Jimmy Fallonness to him. So I'm like, I believe him as a talk show host.
Yeah, absolutely. Like he does like he comes out and does his monologue. He's very believable. I think
I
he's
love that
believable.
beginning, and I love his like the casting of this movie is all very fun. Like the guy who's his second in hand, he don't look familiar to me.
No, no, I don't think so either. Yeah,
um what's his name? Uh
Gus,
Gus.
the
Yeah,
guy who's his announcer, who like
yeah. Gus is great. I mean, he's more in this comedical beats, but even like the start with the theremin, and
yeah.
it's a good bit.
We
It
got two
sets it up.
characters. You got Gus, and then you got Lou. Lou's the producer, and
Mhm.
Gus and Lou kind of act as like the devil and angel for Jack. You know,
In a
Gus
worse
is
mo-
always kind of like, this is going too far. This is what maybe we shouldn't do this. And then Lou is like full steam ahead.
we got to keep rolling.
Keep it. The more fucked up, the better. Let's get this on the show on the road.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun movie. But yeah, the we get the Halloween night show going, and he's teasing a big thing. He's like, "Oh, so we're gonna have this great guest on to talk about this book, the Devil House, like My Day with the Devil or the Devil House." I should have wrote notes. Um, and but before then, he has a psychic, a mentalist come on, a psychic, whatever you want to call it, and
Christu.
yeah, and it's a fun part. It truly is. He's doing a little accent. He reminds me so much of like, so I'm watching some of these Simpsons, like a Hank Azaria, like a Hank Azaria type role.
Yeah, I can see that. Sure.
But he's going through it, and he's like, "Is there a Peter?" And like the person's like laughing. He's like, "Yeah, I
He's
guess
doing
he's
the
cheating on my
he's doing
wife."
the classic dry read where he's
Yeah,
like just hunting around. He's playing the odds. He's gonna find somebody, and he's like doing a.
but then during that, like he is getting reception, and like his eyes roll back, and the lights go out. And once again, Jack and everyone's like, no, it's okay. It's just an error. Like they're
Well, it's important
dismissing
to
it.
note that the attack does seem like something that could be faked. Like it doesn't, you know what I mean? At this point, when he first has his like little seizure thing,
Yeah,
it does seem like it could be like a ratings grab.
everything's a little bit of trickery,
Right?
little bit of
Everything's a little
trickery,
sketch.
and but it doesn't. And then he another thing I want to note too is and it's such a good device in this movie that you think it's gonna have a bigger payoff, but it doesn't. I don't know if it's good or a bad thing yet. Is the skeletons just sitting in the audience, just staring?
Okay.
They're creepy. It's not a scary movie. I mean, like it's
No,
creepy.
not particularly. There's like a couple like shocking moments or like
Yeah,
jumps or
it's
whatever, but not
creepy.
like yeah.
I would say those skeletons are creepy after a certain point because they're just like bare
Well, it takes a
masks.
while for you to realize that they just like are sitting staring and not really reacting to
Hmm.
anything.
So they're there. We get a few shots of this, thinking nothing. But he calls on over, come to the couch, and they blah 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 talk like that, and then the skeptic joins the show.
Mhm. Carmichael the Great. I love
Yeah,
this guy. This is a great role. This is a great part. It's so fun.
that actor, man, hams that shit up. But
Yeah,
like,
he's having a good time.
and I think it pays off.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, Carmichael the Great, and he's like, his old gimmick is like, if you could prove to me that you've spoken to the dead or done these things, I have $250,000 in my pocket.
Yeah, well, that's another trope from those kind of shows too. You have the illusionist turned cynic who like disproves other illusionists and stuff and other like scammers and con men. That's like a classic trope of those shows too.
And do you ever remember like seeing anything like that? You
Um,
grew up in like the '80s, I know. So
yeah,
like,
that's true. It's true. I'm old. Yes, that's true. No, not. I've seen like more archival footage and like stuff in documentaries and shows.
mm,
Not. I don't remember anything specifically that I watched live on TV, anything like that. The only thing I remember close to that was when they used to have people who were like pickpockets and former like thieves and stuff who would like you the whole audience would come in and sit down and then like a dude would get up and be like, this is whoever professional pickpocket, and you might remember him. He greeted a lot of you when he came in, and he would be like,
mm.
okay, I got somebody's watch. Whose watch is this? And people would be like, oh, my watch. And he's like, okay, I got somebody's wallet. Whose wallet? I got wallet.
Oh, my wallet.
Yeah, it was fun. But no, I never did see. But I do know there was a guy because what's his name? The guy who said he could bend the spoons with his mind.
Yeah, I've seen that. Or
There's
I've
a
seen know of
performer who
that.
did that, and then there was a guy who used to like go around and basically debunk him and kind of chased him off the circuit. He was like,
That happened. Now that happens every day on TikTok.
I know, I know.
Um,
We create new dumb people all the time now.
all the time. But that's good to know, man. So anyway, that's the dynamic, right? That is most of that movie,
Yeah.
right? It's that, and then like some oddities happen, and um, when he calls them over, when he calls Carmichael over and all of that, I don't believe, if I'm not mistaken, June he calls June out, also the author of this book.
Well, first we have the whole thing where Christu has another attack.
I thought that's with June on the couch.
No, because he spews up that black stuff. That's before June and the girl come out.
Mhm.
He spews up some black bile onto Christu, which I wish wasn't CGI bile. I wish it was they
They
had a
should have.
rig.
They
Should have
should
been a
have just
rig.
done
It should
it.
have just been a hose. Should have done it SNL style, where it's like in their sleeve, and he's like,
Ugh.
and it's like sprays clearly out of the
That
sleeve.
yeah, I like that you mentioned that because it's like when later like Gus is getting zapped by his theremin.
Yeah,
Like I like that they like the zap aesthetic looks like if it was to be the effect of a zap, like not that great from like the in 80s 70s like
yeah.
effect. Like it's pretty goofy looking, but it's clearly a style choice. I wish, like you said, like it wasn't a CGI. It was just
Yeah, some kind
it would
of
show so much better.
But anyway, so Christu is basically like taken off to the hospital, spewing black
Yes, it's a
bile.
big moment because it's once again the lights go again, and
Well,
there's a
and during he has like a thing where he calls out. He's getting a message from somebody, and it's the name he uses is like Jack's pet name for his
yeah.
wife.
He gets a message from he
And
gets a
that's when
message.
Carmichael basically accuses Jack of being in on it. And he's like, "This is gross. You're exploiting your dead wife." Like,
Yeah, I mean he already had like come on.
he did that already.
Yeah, and like there's other illusions in there, like I mean it's revealed later, but it's still like things from that this June woman also like like they're having an affair.
Right. It's like implied by the girl. They bring out June, and
Yeah,
Lily is the girl's name, right?
they bring
June's a
her.
psychologist, and Lily's supposed to be. Oh, we didn't talk about. They show a little video about the cult of
No,
Abraxas.
that's a good. Yeah, another one of those intercut videos, which, like I said, they work really well as break. They work better as breakers in this broadcast than the documentary behind the scenes.
Yeah. Um, it's a little mix of like reality and kind of satanic panic stuff, but the idea is that there was this cult and they all died except they saved this one little girl, and that's this girl Lily,
It's,
and she was a they did rituals on her and stuff, and supposedly she is possessed, and June
and
has written a book about treating her.
yeah, and she could channel it, and June is her also like caretaker, like
Yeah,
basically talking another part. Who knew these themes in this movie were so apparent? Exploitation.
yeah,
Another
sure.
person who is doing exploitation. Um, possibly for the right reasons or not, but it is. Um, I never would have thought of that if we never talked about it
That's why the show
or became a
exists.
problem. But no, so you're absolutely right though. Of like we get this little breakdown of this documentary, and they come out and like the young girl that plays Lily is so good and like a good creepy child that you haven't actually seen like nail in so long. Like she talks, she's sweet, she's like, "Could I
She's
call
so
you
good the
this?"
way that she immediately fixates on the camera, and she's always staring
Yeah,
into the camera.
it's like this it's like this thing of like she's doing a great job acting as if she's not all there, but the girl is like the girl's clearly there, but also just like kind of waiting. Like I feel like she's just waiting to perform, but also just like I don't know. I'm told to be nice and put
Yeah.
this smile on.
Yeah, it definitely feels a bit performative for sure. Like you
Yeah.
can tell she's like putting on a bit of a show. And she
Um.
likes the attention. Like I said, she immediately like is locked onto the camera and locked onto the attention.
mm, I like.
Um
So she
I also
tells.
wanted to note my whole thing about them this all tying into like tropes from daytime TV or like trash television. Obviously, they weren't doing a lot of exorcisms on trash television, but troubled teens is like a huge part
Oh
of
yeah.
trash TV. You bring out a kid who
Still to
is,
this day.
and you have a parent who's like, I don't know what to do and whatever. So like this kind of I felt like tied into that element a little
Yeah.
bit of it. Like you still get
Yeah.
it's not as direct as some of the other stuff, but I felt like it's still basically I didn't want to drop my thesis, so I found a way to like kind of
No, I
Get
get
it.
it. I get it. I get it. I get it. Like
Bend
I
it
do.
in there.
There was some thought put into, I think, the concept and storytelling of this. Um, so they do that, and like, oh shit, it's been this is I'm rusty, guys. My
It's okay.
apologies for this
No,
episode.
they do a regular interview with Lily.
Yes, they do, that's what I was getting at. They
And
do
there's a
break.
little bit, like you said, a little bit of implication that maybe there's something going on between Jack and June.
Yeah,
And now his wife's been dead a
like six
year or
months, something like
6 months, and
that.
he's back on the air. So we
And
don't know if it's something that started, but like even so, the implication is like it's been a little too soon. It would be a little inappropriate for you to
but
already
also
be
like,
already be pursuing June. You know?
yeah, and to have like here's my guest is also my lay. Like,
Yeah. Oh, and like, what's the implication is like, what was June doing this to get on the show? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Is she implying
there's parts
that?
of it.
So there's
What I
like a lot layered. There's like some stuff layered in
so
there.
she says to that too, and they reveal like they also have pieces which will come up later too, from the cult of Abraxas,
Yeah.
like that were recovered. They show this
They
like
have they have
dagger,
a dagger. They have a couple little things.
skull,
And
and
also when they're doing in between, when we do the commercial breaks and we cut to the black and white footage, this is also when we find out that Christu died. That
yes,
like
I wanted to
on the
get
way to
there.
the hospital, you find out that he actually died.
And like
And it's a
Jack,
thing where they're like, it's a moment where they think about maybe stopping the show, but of course Lou is like, "This is great. This is gonna be
who's
ratings
like
gold and
he's like,
whatever."
just don't tell Gus.
Yeah,
Basically, it's like we just won't tell Gus. He can't handle it.
yeah.
We'll tell him
Gus
later.
is a sweetheart.
And the other thing that the Lily brings out into that too is we learn in this little interview is we learn her demon's name is what she calls him, Mr. Wriggles.
Yeah, because he wriggles
Oh,
it around in her brain.
yeah, and you know, and we also learn that like we're like, oh, is this the demon Abraxas? Is that what's living in the woman's like, nah. We believe it's just like an underling type of like deity, not the main person. Which is just like kind of interesting insight. I don't really think it comes back too much because it's not the story's not going there.
Yeah.
The one I will say is like because I did watch it at home, so I did have a pause a few times. The movie flies. It is like
Oh
a
yeah,
tight.
it's
I
a
mean, it's a
very
little more than
crisp.
90, but it's a tight 90. Like in the
Yeah.
sense of like because I remember watching it in theaters and then going. Remember going, oh, today being like, oh, when's this scene coming up? And pausing, like, oh shit, there's only like 20 minutes. Like, every time I
Yeah.
looked, there was only like 40
No, it
minutes.
moves absolutely.
Um, so uh, so they do that, and then they come out and they do the exorcism, right?
It's not honestly. It's not really an exorcism. It's more of just a communication. They're just
It's let's
trying to
talk to
talk to Mr. Wriggles.
the devil, like that. That's more should almost be the thing than like late night with the devil. To be like, let's talk to. And
My note here is that there's nothing revolutionary in this
not at
interaction
first.
with her. Um, it's not bad though. It's pretty solid. Her performance is good. The
Oh,
like
it's oh no
all
no
the
no like like
but
no
the weird stuff of like her face getting scarred from no like everybody. I hate that exorcism movies do this. It's like there's a plot reason that Reagan's face is scarred. She doesn't just get a scarred face because she is possessed. And like so many exorcism movies, the person gets possessed and they all of a sudden have scars on their face, and it's just like that's not. I know you all saw The Exorcist, but like that's not why there was a plot reason. She like fucked her own face up in that movie.
she like did yeah,
She did
but
it to herself. It didn't just appear when the demon was in her, like which is what
her
they basically do in this movie.
but even like so it's not even a scar like her like brow and temple low like they like it's
Yeah,
like
she
there's
gets
like
more like almost
prosthetic
like
too.
Cro-Magnon
Yeah,
looking, like.
Cro-Magnon. Yeah, there's like her eyes go and so yeah, it's very becomes
But she has
very.
like some cuts and scars on her lips and stuff too.
Oh,
It's just
she's
like
cut up.
they
It's
add those aesthetics too because
well
they have to.
calling the thing Mr. Wriggles and then the face. I mean that is straight from The Exorcist.
Right? Yeah, they're definitely channeling here.
Yeah, like Captain Howdy, like it's same shit. Um, But that scene, I mean, I do love. I am a sucker for a chair levitating.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I am a sucker. Like like in the Conjuring, it gets me every time.
Hmm.
Then it flips upside down. Like this isn't as dramatic, but so yes, levitate. The voice change. The voice modulates. Things go, and people freak out. Um, and she says something, and that's when you hear the things of like you fucking her, Jack. Like they basically calling
Yeah.
out.
Well, the demon also calls out Jack. He's like, "Sell to me. I remember you from the wood, from the tall trees," implying that maybe the grove, touching back on that
The Grove, the
whatever
big.
was going on in the grove might not be
So
might be a little sketch.
can I reveal like can I? Is it time to say like maybe I'm an idiot? An implication I think this movie is like telling us and showing us that Jack sacrificed his own wife. Okay.
In fact, I would say that they make it too implicit at the end.
Yeah, when they're talking on the bed
When
and
like when we'll get to it, but when he has his vision and he's like in her, he sees her like in bed, like uh, in her deathbed, and she basically like lays it out,
yeah.
and is like, I think it's too explicit. I think that I wish they would have trusted their audience a little bit. Like the way it's peppered in this part, I like that. Like I
There's a
like
way to reveal it at the end
there's
without
kind of
her
there's
just
a very Rosemary's Baby element to it, where it's like I decided like I sacrificed my wife for my own personal gain, like.
hmm But that's
Basically,
that's
I decided that fame was the most important thing,
that's what
success.
happened.
Yeah,
Okay. But yeah, he wanted his fame and then but that's yeah, so the cult in the cult of celebrity, basically they implied the Illuminati gets what they want, but it comes with a price. And at the end of the day, that is what the trope is of this movie. But we're not there yet. We can be, but we're not.
well, we
Uh,
finished. Okay, so she has her big attack. The chair levitates.
mhm,
They calm her down. They bring her back. What's the dreamer? You are awake. That's the like saying to like bring
mhm,
the person out of
yeah.
hypnosis or whatever. Also note just I always notice Jack when he cuts her loose, they can't get Lily out of the chair. He grabs the sacred dagger that they brought from a brack, like the one on the
hmm
left, and that's what he uses to cut her straps. I always thought that was
That's a
significant.
nice little, yeah. That's also a nice.
That seemed like not nothing. Like
Well, it comes into play, so it's closer to him later, but it's also not. No, that's
yeah,
purpose. Well, that's just the thing. So there's these like thoughtful moments in this movie, and be thoughtful like story moments of like this is clearly done. This is this. So this movie when it came out was like the hottest. I got too many arguments over with people. Was they used some AI art? I think it's worth mentioning.
yeah. There's a
Because
couple little interstitial things like some "We'll be right back" logos and stuff.
yeah,
Like
some of the will be right back logos. I think the owl and some of the stuff on the set like has a little look, but that's not 100%. What
yeah,
I wanted to say and what I guess verbalized today, and I probably did an episode at the time this came out, in one of our intros, is this was the wrong movie for people to lose their shit about over it.
yeah,
Like you go to Letterbox right now, it's like the top rate. Like it got review bombed by people just being like, "No, I won't do this. I won't do that. Fuck these people."
yeah.
And
You should have
it's
saved that anger for a more worthy opponent.
it's
Like
yeah, it's very ill directed. Also, like when they made this movie to put out and this, it people, everyone was playing with those AI programs
yeah,
just as like, look at this before we like people think we started seriously having those conversations about them. The other part that really I remember getting in the Twitter fights at the time and being like, well, why don't you just pay someone to do that? The people that did that were the ones that were being paid to do that
right. They
artwork.
did hire some graphic designers. Those are probably the ones who did the
And they
AI
were
art.
probably like, I got a lot of shit to get through today. What's going to make my day better? Great, cool. The appropriate people approved this and put it in the movie. Fantastic. I don't like it. it's not great. It was used as a tool. There's better ways to do those things. I can't say that. I can't like argue against that. But this was the wrong movie to get fucking mad about.
Yeah, to flip out about. Agreed.
And it helps that it's a good movie. Like at the end of the day, it's a pretty damn good movie. Anyway, I just wanted to get through that. I think it's important in the show. But these interstitials. And when we come back, the skeptics basically, it's like, let's prove. I could prove that this is not
right. Carmichael the Great, he says,
Yeah,
I
down.
know this, like, this is she's basically accusing June of using like some parlor tricks and some to trick the audience into thinking that Lily's possessed or whatever.
And June and Lily are so innocent in the way innocence in the sense that they're naive in the way they play their scenes and the things that like we know as the audience, and even in things like they weren't pulling any party tricks.
Right.
This movie also, maybe to a fault, it has a reliable narrator. We're being seen what we're being seen, and that's where I think the scene that's coming up.
Well, I think that's what this scene is about to strain that credulity, though. Like, this is where we really kind of like.
And this is where it's kind of weird. Like, it's weird where it's like, it's not okay. It's an aesthetic.
Yeah. Well, this is like it would have. So basically, what happens is Carmichael the Great brings Gus out, and he does a hypnosis thing on him, and then all of a sudden, Gus starts like bursting with worms, and he's like tearing at his own skin.
Yeah,
and worms are coming out, and a giant worm pops out of his eye.
It's a great scene.
And we're all seeing it, and we're all like grossed out by it.
The audience
Lily's reaction has to be called out. The little girl Lily, who is just loving it, she's all sitting there like,
oh,
she's so happy.
That's the demon.
Yeah, I know. That's why it's so good.
No, it's like,
yeah. So like, and it even goes so far as Carmichael be like, oh, this isn't supposed to be happening. What's going on? And like, but then, it snaps out of it. Gus is fine. He has his shirt open. He's a little embarrassed, but he's not, he's not bursting with worms. And you find out that what he did was some kind of mass group hypnosis that even worked on people watching on TV.
Yeah, that was insane to go see.
Which that's the part that I think, because then the whole thing about bringing out the tape and showing you the tape wouldn't work.
And then
if you can be hypnotized through the TV, then the tape would hypnotize you too, right?
No, because it's the thing that's on the tape that's being hypnotized. Like, that I did understand.
Okay, all right.
Like we basically, Carmichael was so good at what he did, you don't need to be in the room, but you're still like viewing it. Like we're still viewing it. So bringing out the tape.
Like I said, it's one of those things. It's like you kind of let fly for the movie.
Well, I think part of it too, because remember, like a little earlier in this conversation, I was like, yeah, aesthetically, like it doesn't also make sense. Like if this is just like, if this is the Blair Witch Project, and it's like this is the footage we found. There would be no like, oh well, Brian's face melted, but that was actually a dream the guy had.
Yeah,
like that's basically what
that's the part. That's kind of getting more into the ending here.
But I think the worms and all that. Hey, it's just cool. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just
well, and like I said, it stays within the bounds of the world they set up, just barely. You know what I mean?
It's supposed to be like, because we're the audience, we were also being hypnotized,
right?
And that's why.
I mean, they make a point of like when he's doing his little shit with the watch and him to make sure it's center focused on the screen, like you would be. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean?
But after that, it's so fun. He goes that, and it's like, excuse me. It's like, well, bring up the tapes. Let's watch, and it's nothing. And Gus is just.
And you see that, like, even some of the stuff we saw him doing, like what I was talking about, where he's like backing up and this isn't supposed to be happening. That didn't even really happen. That's all part of the hypnosis too. Basically, Carmichael's just sitting there like, check out this fucking guy.
He's showing me his titties.
Yeah, look at titties over here. Gus's weirdly smooth body out, like. upsettingly smooth body. Like, not in a way that it was hairless, that it was, but also that, like,
There's a sheen
no,
to it.
where's the contours of his chest? Why was it just flat? Why weren't there even like a titty indent or anything? He was just like smooth, like a tube.
Guy got an interesting body. What can we say?
It
I
made me
felt
want to see
actually,
more. Honestly, it made me want to see more of it.
yeah. What is the full picture of Gus look
I
like?
want to. What's your bare back look like?
Is it smooth? No, that's probably where the hair is living.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh Gus, I think, is the only sympathetic character in the
Oh,
movie
absolutely. Gus is a sweet baby boy. He deserves to
because
be protected.
he's the one where you're like, because let's like, so what's about to transpire then is after all
Like I
this, and
said, the conscience. Basically, he plays the part of the
well, you
conscience
want
of the
Gus to
show.
just go home. Like when he's offered to go home,
Yeah.
just go fucking home, man.
Especially watching this a second or third time, I'm like, go, Gus, no,
Yeah,
do it, take the
like
go.
like it's a horror movie, so like mean deaths happen, but I'm like, oh man, Gus' death is a
Yeah,
bummer.
Gus,
Um,
Gus did no wrong. Gus,
uh,
innocent.
so speaking of Gus, they get back down, all of this, like, see, and then like Jack is just very much like, all right, if that's the case, could we play the tape of the possession or the conversation? And there's some banter of like June and Lily, like June was like, we're done, we're done, like this is
Well,
getting,
right, she doesn't want to bring everything back up because it was very traumatic and
yeah.
everything,
And then
like
like basically
barely
the
got Lily calmed down or whatever,
the um Reese, the evil producer, is like, nah, just
Lou,
give Lou,
Lou.
sorry, is just like, nah, go with it,
Yeah,
go,
absolutely.
basically go with it, we're gonna show it, it just plays. And it's what we watch. It's the
Yeah.
fucking face changing in this, and the skeptic kind of starts, not sort of the magician guy freaks out, and he just fucking melts and explodes, and then like
Well,
Lily looks,
first, hold on. There's a little thing that I noticed here. That I'm not sure if this is the way it meant it, but the way it hit me this time is like showing the tape of Mr. Wiggles to Lily creates this kind of feedback loop.
mm,
And like you see the electricity kind of going out over the into the like wires up over the crowd and everything, and then she like stands up, and this is when she takes her final form, and her head fucking splits open,
splits,
and like
yeah.
energy is like flying out of it. Which rad design. That is such a great
This
design.
this movie's design is awesome.
It's so fucking cool. A little girl whose head cracks open like an egg and energy's pouring out of it. Like, that's rad as
So,
fuck.
but yeah, her first fucking target though.
Well, she gets poor Gus first. Doesn't he come over and she turns his head around and he just like falls over?
Yeah, and he just
And
falls
then
off the
I love
chair.
Carmichael the Great because Carmichael the Great first he like he tries to pray to it, and then he tries to offer it the check.
He's
He's
like, "We got money."
he's got the money, and then she does the head melt. She just
Yeah.
basically melts his head like a marshmallow in the flame.
I think that is where the budget went to, where they were like, "Well, can't do CG. We got to do CGI throw up now."
Yeah.
But yeah, just fucking
And
head
she
melt.
kills June.
That once
June gets a
again,
really graphic, horrible death too.
you don't expect it.
No, I expected June to be like no and cowering, but she gets a gruesome death. Good for
Because
her
you,
though. Equal opportunity. I like
yeah,
that.
people just run away. It's chaotic. It's
Yeah, I think
this.
there's like some lights fall on some people too. There's
Yeah,
like some chaos going
it's
around.
it's like the Butters tap dancing. I got $1 in my pocket for you. But yeah, you're right.
What it is.
One of those weird things where it's like an earworm. And you're like, where the fuck am I singing that song? I haven't watched that
There's
episode in
a
10
Mr.
years.
Show sketch where Bob and David play dueling like megaphone singer crooners, and they're like, and like it's the same thing. It's like nothing
It's
joke
nothing.
songs, but like once you get them in your head, you kind of they're so simple you can't help but think about them.
Got $1 in my pocket for you. Anyway, um, now we are getting to I think the weakest part of the movie.
Yeah,
Once again, it's
we
how do
do
you
kind
end
of
it?
well, this is where we fully abandon
No,
the
the full show.
documentary part.
We go into widescreen too, which I'm like, what?
Yeah. which is fine. It's like a 2001
Yeah,
kind of like,
straight up 2001.
yeah,
It's
like,
this dream scene where we kind of just go through like the bad and dreamlike sequences, the
well, and we
choices that
revisit some
Jack
stuff we've
has made.
seen, like moments from the show. Jack is kind of reliving them, but they're different. They're fucked up, and
Yeah, and like the hypno wheel of him laughing in front of it, and then it all really, and then the tall trees with the coal, and but then it really all
I
accumulates
mean, there
to
are some decent visuals here too. Like,
it's great visuals.
yeah,
It's great
but
visuals.
then we end with like what we started to talk about a little bit earlier. Jack comes into the white room and he sees his wife sitting, his cancer wife sitting there, clearly about to die, and she kind
Yeah,
of really lays it out, like, Madeline exit stage left and all that. Like,
yeah, and
she,
she's
she,
like,
that's like, I really wish, I don't mind him seeing his wife in this moment or having that here, but I really wish she didn't like so blatantly explain it.
well, she
Like,
explains it in the sense of
trust
like
the audience a little bit more,
she explains it in the sense, and then she goes, kill me with the Braxis dagger to get rid of my cancer.
Yeah,
Like,
like
you
the
are
only
the
way to save me is to stab me with this
yeah,
magic knife or whatever.
but she lays it all out. It's all of this. It's all the success. He sacrificed his wife's soul for his show that never will beat Johnny Carson because it's Johnny Carson.
Yeah,
Uh Pops it in. We get out of the dream sequence. He has
yeah. As soon as he
stabbed.
stabs the wife, it cuts out,
He has
and he's on
stabbed
the floor of the
Lily.
studio, and he stabbed Lily.
Yeah, he has
Now,
stabbed Lily.
I think this could have been. I think we're both in agreement that like this is like you said, the weakest part. But I really think you could have saved it with the Stacy Keach voiceover coming back and being like, now, much like they did on the show, we will look at the footage from, like whatever, and like show us what was happening on stage while Jack was having his freak out.
Oh shit, that's a great idea.
Did he just flip the fuck out and kill everybody? Because that's not true. Because you do see that, like, as they pull out and he stabbed Lily, Carmichael's head is melted. So some of the stuff did happen. It have
No,
to
I
happen.
think it all. I think it all happened.
But like, show me what happened during Jack's freak out. Show me
But
the
what it
interaction between him and Abraxas
yeah was
during the freak out. Like,
Jack's. Was it 3 minutes of him freaking out,
right.
just like you said, murking shit, or was it 3 seconds and it was a quick and we just saw
But
5 minutes?
yeah, like they lock eyes and energy,
Yeah,
shoots into him, and then they have a
that would
second, and then he stabs her, and it ends. You know what I
that
mean?
would
Or like he,
that would be a good way to do that because really all it is really is the stabbing. Him
yeah.
saying, you hear police sirens, and it's probably just like, and he's going to be big TV personalities hauled off to jail and considered crazy, right? And
I did like the kind of pose with him stabbing her. It reminded me very much of the end of The Omen when he's trying to kill Damien and he's got the dagger when they run in and they shoot him at the end. And
baby,
he's
once
the
again,
little
supposed to
baby
be on
Damien and
purpose.
he's got all the daggers and he's gonna stab him. I kind of like got that vibe. I mean, this movie obviously is full of references and
Yeah,
honor.
that's
I don't
probably
know
on.
if that was a deliberate one, but it definitely gave me the vibe.
I don't know. It probably is on. It probably is somewhat on purpose. If you thought of it, but
But
um,
yeah, the ending definitely feels like are is are we just seeing this as the viewers of the movie Late Night with the Devil, or in the world of the movie, is this part of the footage that Stacy Keach was talking about at the beginning? That you know what I mean? Like, I feel
it's
like they kind of lose the thread a little bit in the end.
yeah, it's goofy.
Like the other stuff we talked about, the behind the scenes stuff or the stuff with the hypnosis, is all kind of forgivable, but it's a little bit. It breaks the movie just a little bit.
The
The
behind
ending.
the scenes stuff also for me, it never, because even at the time, that was a big criticism.
Yeah.
It never bothered me too much because it was
Oh,
so
it doesn't ruin. I
sparingly.
don't want to give the impression that it ruins the movie or
No,
spoils the movie. This is We're doing the nitpick of a
oh yeah,
very good
yeah.
movie
Yeah.
thing here.
It's funny. I will say because I saw this like I said in March and like when like you don't see enough of like you finally get a theater and you see something that really you're just like so into and like yeah. I go to log it on my letterbox today, and like I'm like, oh, I gave that 5 out of 5 stars. To this review was like I was like, this is a 4 out of 5, which still is
Yeah,
a
this is a
great,
4 out of 5.
which is a great rating. There's other I think while we wrap up here, kind of fail to mention like there's a few other pieces of media that have been put out like here that I've never seen. There's like Ghostwatch, which came out in the '90s.
I did watch Ghostwatch because it was also available on Canopy, I believe, and I
Yeah, and I
watched
think that's
that.
a
It's a lot
Shudder.
of I mean, it's much more subtle than this,
Is it
but
okay?
it does have that same kind of
Ghostwatch,
vibe to
and
it. It's
then
cool.
the WNFU like special or something. Another thing that's available on Shudder. So this has been done before, but it's a fun movie. I mean, like I said, it's in that Halloween watch. It's something I want to own. I didn't jump on and get it. Do you got any other things you want to add, Brian?
No, I think this is a really great movie. I think those are, like I said, we already talked about a great chance for David Dashmalian to have a nice lead and get his foot in the door as a bigger player on his own. Um, but no, I think this is a really solid. This has been a very solid year for horror, and I think this was a strong start. This was like one of the first ones out of the gate to kind of
Hmm.
get us going, and I really, yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. And like I said, a third watch didn't diminish it. I mean, obviously, I sat here and we made criticisms or whatever, but like
Yeah, I mean,
overall, very strong. Like you said, a 4 out of 5, probably.
yeah, my criticisms are minor.
Yeah,
It's like I said, I was so impressed with like it's weird because I don't try to pause or look at my phone and things, but like pausing and then going, oh shit, we're at this point of the movie, but so much has to happen. But then it happens in a but then in a good way.
yeah.
Um,
Overall, it's really tight, and that helps it when there's these little these little foibles in the structure. It's like some of that can be papered over by just
I
like knocking it out of the park with scene after scene. You know what I
like I
mean?
said,
Like some of that stuff you just don't even notice.
yeah, like I said, there are a few missed opportunities. Like I said, the guy, the skeleton sitting. Wish there was a bigger like I wish they had a payoff of a scare, not an
Yeah.
explanation. I'm not. We're not a dumb audience. That's
You know what I
clearly
would have loved is just like in the chaos of the end of the movie, because I don't remember if you see what happens to Lou, but I would have loved to have just seen that skeleton just stand up and just like beeline toward Lou and just like take him out, just like
something like
smoke,
that. It's what I mean. Like,
just like smear him, just like and like
just a payoff.
maybe they just go off set and you don't even see what happens, but he just like fully hits him like head on. You know what I mean? I would have loved to have seen something like that.
Just a payoff.
Yeah.
That's all. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like it could be that. I that's for me. But uh um it does its job. Yeah, I think Lou gets away.
I think maybe he does. This is the most evil guy in the whole movie.
But yeah, man. Uh we recommend it. I also got not much to add. I've kind of said
No,
everything I
highly
wanted to.
recommend.
I
Absolutely.
highly recommend.
Like I said, I
Uh,
think we're gonna start knocking off some of the big horror movies from this year, and there's a lot of good ones.
yeah,
So
yeah. For anyone still listening, we're gonna try to our next few run of movies. We're just gonna try to stick in this year or some
yeah, there's been some
recently, and
bangers here in 2024, and I think we should
you know
talk about them.
we're gonna do it. All right.
Yeah,
Well, I hope I had a wonderful time coming back with you,
it feels good to be
my
back. I
my
mean,
my co-host, my lover, my friend,
we hesitated,
partner.
but in truth, I couldn't stay away.
I could not. All right, everyone, you stay frightful. Bye.
Welcome to Flyover State of Fear.